Okay, so let's switch over to this famous FOIA request. So
Sure.
Charles and you file a FOIA request in 2015 seeking access to police misconduct records, investigations, right? From basically our Office of Professional Standards, Internal Affairs. What were you hoping was in there, and why was this filed?
Well, so before we filed this request, there had been an administrative law judge who issued an order uh, that in favor of the Fraternal Order of Police, the police union, that had required the city of Chicago to destroy the police misconduct files that we had asked for, which go back, I guess, to 1967. And what these files represent is a 50-year record of the police department's code of silence in protecting police officers from misconduct. And that's the reason the Fraternal Order of Police wants this record destroyed, because it shows a widespread effort to wrongfully convict, hurt, and otherwise abuse suspects throughout the 70s, 80s, and who knows, beyond or before. And so they're trying to destroy this record in order to prevent the public from learning the severity and longevity of their abuse of the citizens. And so I attended a conference that was being led by Jamie Calvin and Craig Futterman from the University of Chicago. And they were talking about their own efforts to get data. And I had been representing Charles since 2011. And at that time, Charles, there just wasn't a lot you could do for him because he'd been convicted and released from prison. And I came up with this idea, talking to Charles, that maybe there is something in there. Detective Somerville's a dirty detective. Have they been hiding this record, this conspiracy for all these years from him? And is that an avenue for him to be able to attack his conviction? And I talked to them about it, and I asked, why has no one ever asked for all of these files? And Mr. Futterman said, I don't know. No one has. So I think I went home that night or the next day, and I wrote a FOIA request for Charles and talked to him about it, and we submitted it and filed it and asked for all of these records, anticipating that we were going to be fighting with the city over whether or not we could get them. There was a lot of records. We knew that. They did not respond to our request at all. And that had some very significant. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, that seems people don't understand. Well, with the new FOIA law that was put in 2010 for public bodies, the law basically says for public bodies to claim an exemption of overly burdensome, like it's just too much work, they have to respond to your initial FOIA request within 5 working days to be able to use that. So that's what the law says. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, so they didn't respond, and at the time they weren't responding to requests as a matter of routine, and they were basically gambling, right? And they were playing dice with the taxpayer money again, knowing full well that they could get hit with a multi-million-dollar problem where they have to produce a lot of records in short order because they just didn't respond within the time the legislature allowed them to. And we filed a lawsuit in part because we wanted to get the records, and in part because we were afraid the records were going to be destroyed as part of a process, and that the administrative law judge had put in motion. Now, that effort ended up being unsuccessful several years later, as we just learned this year. But all the same, we didn't know that at the time. So we wanted them preserved, and we wanted to make sure that people like Charles and other people wrongfully convicted who might still be in prison had access to what we know is a extremely lengthy record of the police department's code of silence.